I study automotive engineering first in China. I get my bachelor degree here, and then I moved to Germany in 2013. And I studied in car school and get my master degree, and also the automotive engineering machining ball. Mm-hmm. And then during my master study, I worked as an intern in Bosch in Bamberg for about 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then in 2017, I came back to China, joined at that time the first new EV player that they called Leo, and joined them and stayed there for about 3 years. So I worked in a very new EV player for 3 years, and then I transferred to SAIC. That is a very legacy OEM in China, and they have a joint venture with Volkswagen, so very traditional, almost 30 years in China. And I work there in their software new company. That company is established for the new software architecture for the cars, for the premium cars of SAIC. So I worked there for almost 1 year. And then so I stayed in the new player, I stayed in the new legacy OEM, and find that it's the two different things work very, very different. And everyone said, I'm right. And everyone said at that time we should integrate Agile and ASPICE. So I am a do person. I don't want to talk too much. So I think maybe I can find a solution to integrate this perfectly. So I come out and study my own company called Mapping Space. So that is in 2021. So till now it's about 5 years, and we have also dozens of paying customers in China. So that is my story.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you already touched on a number of really, really interesting topics. I mean, you already mentioned software a few times, and this is certainly here in Europe where the tension is coming from, and everybody is throwing away the term software-defined vehicle. And so from your perspective, what did you observe with, like, number one, why are traditional manufacturers struggling with the concept of software-defined vehicles? What's the role of platform strategies? And what's their impact on development speed? And again, like one of the statistics that I'd love to cite is, BYD officially claims 18 months for a car. Volkswagen is trying to get close to 40 months. So it's
sorry, the screen is frozen, I think.
Oh,
hello?
Okay. Hello. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now work. Yeah. I have heard clearly about your question. So firstly, why the legacy automotive OEM struggling with the SDV? I think firstly, the vehicle has really changed a lot since the new EV. It is beginning in about 2017 or 2018, because at that time, China has a lot of new players has been worked in this field, because BYD is quite he's a pioneer. About 20 years ago, the BYD founder he thinks that the electric vehicle will be the future. And then at that time he started to build the electric vehicle, but in about 2014 and 2015, the China government said that, okay, we want our society put more efforts, put more resources in the EV development, because we think in this branch we can be more, have more advantage. And also it's about the country strategy, because China is also it's also a lack of the oil. So that is also one of the reasons. So in about 2014 to 2015, a lot of intellect founders who come to the automotive sector said we want to build new EV. Maybe based on our Intel experience because they build the Intel very fast. So at that time, that is NIO, that is XPeng, that is Li Auto. They are the three. They all founded in 2014 and 2015, and they don't have so much experience no experience in the automotive, but also no burden in the automotive. So you don't need to follow your old standard or your old documents to start from the scratch. And yeah. And
just curious, like I was just like researching that. So BYD was actually around since 1995, correct? So they kind of, did they start with electric cars or did they transition from combustion engine? Do you know?
I think they have, in a very limited time, they have also produced the combustion autos, but very soon they have transitioned to the electric vehicle and the hybrid electric vehicle. So, yeah. And then at the few beginning of the year, the legacy OEMs, they don't believe the internet players, they can change the status. So they just look outside. So see which one can survive. And they don't believe that. But the new EV players, they push their vehicles into the market very fast. And that's one reason. And second reason, they can iterate very fast because normally their engineers come from the mobile phones, come from the internet, and the OTA, or at that time, everyone learned from the Tesla. And Tesla has proved that FOTA or OTA is a very good way to iterate your cars. And I think a lot of China founders have accepted this mindset. That means the vehicles can also be iterated very, very fast. And so at the beginning, the car maybe has some software issues, but they can fix it very fast. And that is one reason. And second reason is that because when the new player come into the automotive field, their marketing activity are totally different. They talk a lot to the customers. They go to the drivers group or the users group and talk to them every day and get their feedback. So that means the activity want to get the feedback because why? Because they have this kind of infrastructure that is OTA infrastructure, and they want to make the most use of it. And for the legacy OEM, even though they want to hear the feedback from the customer, they have no this kind of infrastructure. So that means they cannot feedback very fast. So that is one reason. The legacy OEM, they have no this CI/CD or this OTA infrastructure, so that even though they can hear the feedback from the users, they cannot take action very fast. I think that is one reason. And then the legacy OEM, they began to find way, because in about 2020 and 2021, the three players in China, that is XPeng and NIO, they're almost dying. Because no one won't buy their car. Not no one, because their car is fallen, and the stock market price also fallen to like $1. And they are in a very dangerous status.
Just curious, was that related to the industry as a whole or related to COVID, which was at the same time?
Yeah, a lot of reasons. I think a lot of reasons. Yeah, and it also happened a few like the accidents sometimes, and also the supply chain management. There are so many different reasons.
Mhm.
But Exxon and NIO, they have suffered a very dangerous situation.
Got it.
But they hold on, and then they sell more, and then they pass through that time. Yeah.
You know that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? So it totally seems that this is what happened here.
That's true. So when the NIO and the Exxon began to survive again, and then the legacy OEMs in China, they found that the new player really makes something in the market. And then they began to learn from them. So they began to think why they are developing so fast, why the users like them so much. Because, in the NIO, the users often, they refer to so many different users. It's totally a different sales strategy with the legacy OEM, because the legacy OEM, you go to the auto house, you do the branding, you do a lot of the branding activity in the media and so on. But for the new player, they don't do so much in that, but they go to the users and talk to them, get their feedback, and then let them feel that their mind, their ideas matters. And soon, after a quarter or after half year, they can see their ideas reflect in the vehicle. So that is very important. Yeah. If you have a mobile phone, and you can see that your mobile phone can iterate every day, and you can iterate as you like. That is a different kind of feeling.
I completely agree. And I mean, what's interesting is, and I mean, this is totally my topic, that you really need like the holistic view from business to engineering to delivery, having different iterations for software and hardware. And it's very interesting that you talked about like the whole marketing and sales aspect, which I agree is very important. What I'm wondering is, what's your point of view on having a good platform strategy and how to implement it? Because at least from my point of view, and in a bit we're getting back to the topic of compliance, a big topic is how can you confidently do over-the-air updates and evolve the car so quickly without endangering safety. So what's the role of the platform, and do you see differences there?
So I think in the first few years, and there are also so many users complain about OTA because they have they suspect that the OEM, they will use this kind of OTA mechanism to update their safety issues in the car, but not telling them. Yeah, that is possible. Yeah, and then the government. So in the first beginning year, it works very fast, and I think there must be some issues there. And then later, a lot of the users complain, and a lot of experts in society said it's not okay, it's not safe, it's not healthy. And then the government gives some have some more guidance. That means that if you want to OTA, then you have to firstly report to the according government that you want to OTA, and you have also send your features, your bugs you want to update in this OTA version. So that is one guidance now. So, and also if you apply for the OTA process, and the department of government could say, okay, it will last 1 month or 2 months or 6 or 3 months, and so like that. So that means the OEM cannot do OTA every day like they want. They have to firstly apply for the process. And because the department of the government want to control the frequency of the OTA, and also they want to control what kind of features or bugs you want to OTA from this version. So that will decrease this kind of making use of OTA to resolve the safety critical bugs, kind of like that.
Got it. Okay, got it. But how do they make sure that maybe this is a good time to talk about compliance, because I've seen in your writing you argue that many organizations optimize for process compliance, especially in the Western world, and legacy manufacturers, instead optimizing for product outcome. And so how can you actually optimize for outcome and making sure that you have a safe process? I mean, what's the role of the government to enforce that? How much is it something that the manufacturers actually do really well?
Okay. We have learned from Germany and also from the Japan and from the US for about 30 years in the automotive sector. Yeah. We have learned from you a lot. And of course, we know the compliance of all the world, especially like in Europe, you have the ASPICE, you have the ISO 26262, and you have also the cybersecurity. So we all know this process. And for the legacy OEMs in China, they also follow this kind of compliance. But I think the new player of EV, when they come to this market, they begin to think, because they are a different group of people. I think I am a very traditional auto guy because I learned automotive engineering for 8 years. But after I joined NIO, I found that a lot of their engineers coming from the mobile phone industry or the internet, and web development and so on. So they are a different group of guys, and they think things are different. So they start to think it's kind of like it's a mechanical with a software, and maybe we could divide that two-part software development like the mobile phone and hardware development like the traditional, and they will integrate them together and make that work. So they started to think, how can we move faster? But of course, if you want to sell your car in the market, you have to follow the compliance. Okay, and then they start to think, how can we adapt our working methods to the compliance? So that is the time the people started to think, how can we integrate Agile and the V model together? So I think that is a very important time in China, because from about 2015, I think from that time to 2020, in these 5 years, we talked that a lot in a lot of the open discussions. Like when you go to a workshop, when you go to an exhibition, you heard a lot of people share their insights about how to integrate that together, or should we adapt Agile. We talk a lot about that. Yeah. And there are some people discussion about that, and there are also a larger group of people, they apply this kind of methodology. So later, if you can prove that your integration can work well, not only the process work faster, but also your product, after you have selling that 500,000 or 1 million autos. And that is also a very interesting topic, because I have once talked to one C-level management guy from the Bosch China. So I talked to them, what is quality and how will you choose between the compliance and Agile and quality, something like that. And he said that one thing very interesting. He said that if you only sell 100 units of your products, you have no rights to say quality. because your sample is not big enough. Even though the 100 units of your product are all good, you cannot say your quality is good. But if you have sell your products like 1 million 1 year, and then you have big enough of the sample data to say I'm good or I'm not good, that not means you should use your user to do the experiment. It's not that kind of meaning. It means that you can follow the compliance with a fast iteration mechanism. And then when you sell more of your products, and you can finally prove you are good quality or poor quality. So if you cannot sell your product, then you have no right to say that. Yeah. Even though you said your process follow the compliance, follow very strict standard, you have no proof.
Interesting. Although I would argue that this perspective is very much an automotive perspective, or also like a cell phone market perspective, where you have like millions of units. If you're building industrial machinery, or maybe if you're selling like planes in much lower quantities, I mean, it's hard for an airplane manufacturer, for example, to sell millions of planes. I mean, that's just not what the market demands. But just circling back on that, so did they say you need simply to have proof, and that's why you need to sell that much? Or is it because you need the statistical insights that you need so many?
Sorry, I don't get your point.
So the question is, do you need the high quantity simply to show that you can actually scale? Or is it because you need the statistics and that your insights are simply not statistically meaningful if you're having like smaller quantities?
I think that is the product you're selling, the quantity you're selling, that is a result. That is a result, is not a process.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What that mean? That means that when you produce your product good, when you design your product good, then you can sell more. That is it's a result. It's not an intention that I want to sell more. Yeah. So I sell more. It's not that. It's not kind of like that.
Okay, got it. So in other words, you're saying like at the end of the day, if you cannot prove economic value by selling, then, whatever you say is not meaningful.
No, that is also not, I mean, you can prove your words by two different kinds of methods. Firstly, you can prove that all my process is good. I don't care about the results. I don't care about the outcomes. And another is that I care about my process, but I also care about my outcomes. If I don't have the outcome, how can I prove what I did is right or wrong?
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's about process first or outcome first. Is that a better way to frame it?
No. I think we want to achieve both. Of course, we want to achieve both. All of us, as an adult, we have the better results. We also have the better process. Yeah, but that is very, very ideal situation in the engineering, especially in the faster iterating market. So yeah, so it depends on how do you evaluate this process? Because as a user, not today, you go to the market, you want to buy a car, that they have so many compliance, they have so many certifications that I have passed this, but only 10 users have used my car. But another, they have so many of that, and yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think I get it. That is definitely insightful. So thanks for clarifying that. You know what? You talked about Agile, you talked about V-model and how to bring them together. Now, one topic that a lot of people are looking for or looking at here are also related to that, DevOps and like industrial DevOps, which kind of is related to Agile, but it's actually broader. And the other thing is model-based systems engineering. And obviously the use of models, not just for system models, but design models, simulations, and even going towards the digital twin. So what's your thought and point of view on that?
Okay. I have used Agile DevOps a lot. And for the MBSE, I don't use that a lot, but I definitely think that MBSE is very important because for some safety critical and legacy components, they are very useful and important because they can give you a bunch of code that has been proved safety, and you can directly use that. And it's also much more faster than the direct coding. Of course, I recognize the value, but you know now in the SDV era, a lot of features that have not been implemented, that have not been used in the traditional combustion and autos. So that means you have low system model or software model for this kind of features. So you have to code them from the scratch. So direct coding is more and more important in this kind of era. But I believe that after another 10 or 20 years, this kind of feature has become the standard component, then that can become another kind of model-based. But now it's not that time, so you still use a lot of this direct code. And then if you use direct code, then it's kind of like that developer mobile phone, because you have the hardware and you have a lot of new features from the market. And everyone is iterating. You cannot refuse that because I am vehicle. I can only iterate after 3 years. That is impossible. So then the market forced the engineers to think, how can I meet the compliance but also iterate fast? And then we literally integrate Agile and ASPICE together, Agile and V model together. I think it's 100% possible because China, so many tier ones and so many OEMs have proved that this kind of integration works. It works not only in the software iterating very fast, but it works also for the software quality, for the vehicle quality. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just let me paraphrase to see whether I understood you correctly. So you are saying that you consider MBSE due to the formality useful, but you see it as something that simply is not fast enough. So we shouldn't move to MBSE until things stabilize and we have a better understanding of what we actually want to do. Did I understand that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That is actually very interesting because there's quite different thinking on that here, where organizations say, "Oh, but you can use modeling to explore so many different variants and whatnot." So but actually, I'm inclined to agree with your point of view because that's why I feel personally that's why MBSE is struggling so much. What about the DevOps? Sorry, go ahead.
And I also find that the tech stacks of the engineers are very different. Because for the traditional automotive engineer, like for me, during my bachelor and master study, We have the courses about MATLAB, Simulink, and of course, we have the courses about C and C++. We have also this kind of courses. But at that time, during my study, we all think the MBSE, the MATLAB Simulink, is very, very important for the automotive engineer. And many of my classmates now, they also use a lot of this MBSE. But for the engineers in the automotive development team or in the digital cockpit team, they are totally different because there are so limited modules they can directly use in the development world. Okay, and then go to your next question about the DevOps. And so, what is your question about the DevOps?
So the question is whether you so there is like the traditional software DevOps, which totally makes sense. Because, I mean, obviously, if you want to do regular over-the-air updates and so forth, you do need DevOps, no question about that. But what about what's sometimes called industrial DevOps, where you are applying DevOps principles also to hardware development, for example, by circling in simulations and CAD models into your development process?
Actually, we use that a lot in the software, but I don't think the development process it's widely used in the hardware development. Or you can say for the system, because the system maybe can be divided into software and hardware. The software can be developed very fast using the DevOps, and the hardware I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just for some context, like one example that I like to cite from the space industry is SpaceX, and they're, for example, using industrial DevOps for their engines. So the redesign, build engines in 2-day cycles. So with real redesign, and they use a lot of technologies like additive manufacturing and so forth in order to making that possible. But again, I mean, the thing is, they're building lots of rockets. I mean, they want to go to, I think they have with the Falcon rockets, I think 2 launches per week. So I think they're like at 100 launches, something like that. But that's not the same as like the millions of cars. And because they control the full stack, they can afford to put different designs into the same rocket.
Yeah. So I think that these two scenarios are a bit different. Because the rocket itself is a limited environment, and before it's totally safe, it cannot be used for the humans, right? So if you explode, that means you have to put more budget to build more rockets. But for the vehicles that are different.
Yeah.
Maybe you can set in your development process. You can say that I use 2 days to redesign my hardware, but that means you have to also adapt a lot of the surrounding tools, and you have to pay a lot of budget to do that, and that no OEM can afford that. The hardware redesign every 2 days or every 1 week. No.
I don't know whether this is true, but at least I saw a talk once where Tesla at least put the infrastructure in place that they could do that in principle, but I don't know whether they ever did. So, yeah, I mean, you need to, that's pretty crazy if you need to keep track of, you know, like millions of slightly differently configured vehicles. I mean, that is a scary proposition.
Yeah, and Musk is very aggressive. Yeah. But maybe he can make some crazy decisions. Yeah, but it cannot be the widely used examples in the real world.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on another topic, which you already talked about a little bit in the beginning, and that is the topic of mindset and culture. And obviously, this is like a huge issue for legacy organizations to adjust the culture to the new realities. So, what's your point of view on that? And I mean, if I understood you correctly, BYD was in that position, considering that when they really went all the way electric, already 20 years passed and they already had the structure in place.
So I don't know. I understand your question right. You said that the cultural difference between the users may have different results, or
oh, sorry, I mean the organizational culture. And so again, it's like a big thing in Germany where organizations that have been built combustion engine cars for 100 years have a really big cultural problem getting the engineers to rethink the automobile.
Yeah. Of course, I think that is very, very important, and that plays a significant role in the development process. As I told you, when I joined NIO as a very traditional automotive guy, but my colleagues, a lot of them coming from the mobile phone technology, coming from the web development sector. So their thinking style are totally different. So I think one thing is very clear. Even I post something in the linking page. I think there are totally two different kind of cultures. One part is that every time when someone release something new or use some technology new, and then they were asked, how about the compliance? How about safety? But if that is at the beginning of one innovation, you directly talk about the compliance, but the department of the government, they are always normally they are slower than the industry. So at that time, there's no compliance at this new iteration. Okay. And another, that is also like something about the AI. When I talk about AI, I said that you can use AI for the requirement generation or help you empower your development process. And then a lot of the engineers from the Europe may ask, then how can you ensure or how can you prove the safety, the critical safety issues? But in China, I think the culture is different. That we prefer to think that because we all know that it's a new innovation, and we all know that what the AI said is not 100% true. We accept that, but we still use that because why? Because they can produce maybe 70% or 80% of outcomes. And then as a human beings, we will check which one is wrong, which one is right, and I have to correct that.
Yeah.
So that is a very different culture. That is a culture from the EU engineer and China engineer also in every company. So that is why when we face the agile challenge in 2017, we debate a lot. Of course, we debate a lot in the internet, in the workshops. But finally, I think most of the engineers have reached the same conclusion that agile is a very important method, and you have to integrate that into your development process.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And it's funny because my next question was actually about AI. So you perfectly made the transition there. And just a side note, one thing that I'm noticing when people are saying like, well, AI makes mistakes. Well, humans also make mistakes. And that's why we have these processes for reviews and whatnot to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. But I mean, to say that AI makes mistakes, yeah, that's true. But, we do have processes to also control humans who to make mistakes. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, like the thing is with AI, it's very interesting because there is like so much hype, and
Mm-hmm.
it's also incredibly powerful. Personally, I think it's going the way like electricity or the internet went. Of course you're using it. It's amazingly powerful. It's not what you're selling. It's like a powerful tool, and everybody who's not using it is a fool. But from that point of view, the question is, which engineering activities are benefiting the most from AI?
Firstly, I have said Viber coding because, yeah, that is very obvious. Yeah, you have seen so many the Viber coding, Cursor or Cloud Code, and so many there. Yeah, and for myself, because I worked in the automotive industry, and for my last 5 years, I work in the ARM, this kind of sector. So what I think is that how can I integrate AI into my ARM tools? That means how to integrate AI to the development process, for the documentation, for the process, for the development process. Yeah, and then I find that it's very useful when you use AI to review your documents. Here, someone said AI reviews, you cannot guarantee the safety critical issues, of course, but I can use, firstly, I can tell AI, I have a lot of this compliance. I have the ISO 262, I have ASPICE, I have cybersecurity. You all know that an AI is expert that remember all this material. And then I give in a document, I said, according to the compliance, can you point out where have I missed something? Yeah. So that is very useful scenario in AI. And second, for the traceability. And in one of my posts, I said traceability seems that it gives the user the feeling that my system is safe. But actually, the system is safe or not safe is not determined by the traceability. It's only a format to record traceability. That's all. Yeah. And for the traceability, that is also a very useful scenario that you can give the AI, like I gave you the one of the requirement document and give the test cases, and that these two documents, for example, they are written by the engineers, and then I will talk to AI. Can you help me generate the traceability between these two documents? And then it will give me a suggestion. And then I can, based on this suggestion, to adapt, to modify that, and then I can get my final results. And that also increase significantly the efficiency. Yeah. There are so many different kind of scenarios. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are also scenarios that I've seen. People like to get started writing requirements, breaking them down, decomposition. Review is definitely powerful. Traceability, that's great. But those are okay. So that's great. So what I'm hearing here is that you should pick clear, small scale use cases, rather than just, letting the AI control the whole development system. Or have you seen that as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that is a very true point of view, because especially for this new innovation, you should not push them firstly to a big amount in the first, because if you say AI can do that, your AI can do that, and then that means your AI features is not specifically for one level scenario, then that can be, it's not so user friendly. Yeah. So it's best to apply them in a very narrow field and then make it more general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is true not only for AI, not only for this technology, that is also true for a lot of the technologies.
Got it. Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've also seen where visions were so big that the time to pass between intervention and result was, years. And then after years, things didn't work out and
everything changed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. This is, so this is definitely quite insightful. And so it's actually interesting because I know the European AI market, lots of companies are simply plugging in commercial AIs. Some are concerned about data privacy and intellectual property theft, so they try to either build their own AIs or they're using like AI platforms that do that. So what's the typical approach for Chinese car manufacturers? Do they build their own AIs? Do they rely on AI providers for the AI capabilities? How do they work?
I think in China, this tendency is more clear because for the software, China has a tendency that we always want on-premise software.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we typically don't, especially for the enterprise software, we typically want the on-premise software because all the data can be locally. Mm-hmm. So in the AI era, that is the same. So a lot of China companies, they develop the AI agent by themselves or they cooperate with a third-party player to build the AI agent for them. But normally they want the AI agent to build locally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for the customer use AI agents, that is very normal that we use a public cloud.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a similar sentiment here as well, where companies are very concerned about data privacy and their also operating cost. That's another issue. Yeah. Okay, interesting. You know what? I think we're actually doing, we're good on time. So let me ask you one last question here. So if you were advising a European automotive executive today, what changes would you prioritize for the next few years?
Okay.
Okay. I mean, obviously that's your selling proposition. So, I can also put your link in there and they can talk to you.
Okay. So I could first say, firstly, I respect what Volkswagen have done in the last few years because even though the geopolitical issues, but they invest more in the China market. And the invest in the last few years is different from the investment in the last decades because now they are not only investing the manufacturing plants in China, but they also investing about R&D talents in China. Mm-hmm. So they try to build a joint ventures with the China local company like the Horizon Robotics and Xpeng. So they can learn from their competitors how can they build software so fast, but also at least meet the compliance of China and Europe because they can also sell the cars in Europe. How can you deny that they don't have a safety car? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's very important to invest into the joint venture with the China local companies so that you don't just listen to like the interview today we make. You don't just listen to one body how to do that. You just see how he really finished the task. So that is very important. Don't just listen, but actually see what they are doing.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. So it's important to invest, and also don't just listen, actually do and engage.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Anything else you would recommend? Anything else people should be aware of?
I think it's very important for the different engineering teams to learn from the others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the China speed everything is right, because you have seen that the BYD, sometimes they have also the battery extents, and the China some EV company, during their innovation, they have some issues, customer compliance, and so that. But if it has existed in this continent for 10 years, and now you can see the China EV production that has been about half of the world production. So that means they have produced half of the world EVs. So how can they do that in just 10 years? And they have sold so many, and that is the statistics itself has proved in some way the quality and their development process. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. All right. I think we covered lots of ground, so thanks for that. The last thing I want to mention is, again, like you are, as I understand it, you are also consulting with German companies. And so you're, okay. So I will certainly put your LinkedIn profile in here. And so if any of the listeners or readers are interested, they can reach out to you to help you with their automotive process activities. So Yuchao, did I pronounce that right?
Yuchao.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for taking your time on talking here.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure.